Soul with Annette. We're your hosts, Annette. You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. Mental illness. Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
All right, all right. Good afternoon and welcome to another wonderful session of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. And I am your host, Annette Harris. Thank you so much for joining us on today. So much for watching and or listening to us today. And of course, I must acknowledge our Lord and Savior Christ before we go further. Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for this beautiful day that you have blessed us to see. It's beautiful. We are alive. We are well, and we are here in the house doing your work. And we pray that you would get the glory out of whatever we go to say and do on this day. And how many of you all remember my opening scripture? You should remember it. Do you remember it, Dr. Hill?
No, I was my mind was on something else that I was going to say.
Lord have mercy. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And again, we are grateful to be here on this afternoon. I just like to, of course, open it up, acknowledge the Lord in prayer, and then give our opening scripture because it is the basis for what mind, body, and soul is all about. I just put Dr. Hill on the spot a little bit there. She knows what it is. She was just thinking about something else at that time. But we are here again, another Wednesday, and I'm excited because it is another fourth Wednesday, and you all know what happens on our fourth Wednesdays here, probably since what, November of last year? Yes. Okay, okay. And Mo Faith Nutritional Services is in the house and represented, of course, by Dr. Shirley Hill. This is her organization, and I don't know if you can call it a foundation organization or what have you, but it's something that has definitely helped me and helped so many others. Yes, I'm glad to. Now I'm going to need you to get in that mic, make that mic your friend. I can hear you, but I want to make sure everybody else does. And like I said, get your outside voice. I think that's better. I think that's better. You all let us know if you can or cannot. We do have a Facebook Live feed going. Want to let you know there are three different ways you can listen and or view us on today. Of course, the station's website, which is intellectualradio.com, intellectualradio.com. You can listen to us there or us. You can go to Facebook. I have a live feed going on my page, Annette, known as Annette. And then also, we're on YouTube live at the present time. So if you type in YouTube and you go ahead and go to Intellectual Radio, you will find Mind, Body, and Soul live at the present time. So I'm so grateful. I see you guys coming in on Facebook Live, and I want to acknowledge you and let you know that I appreciate you. Bretta, I see you. Hey, sis. How are you? Glad to have you on and joining us. Josh, I see you on. My cousin Janice. And Deborah Banks is on. D'Amica's out of school now. She can get a chance to watch us. Buddy Gill, thank you for joining on today. And I know Buddy Gill loves him some Dr. Shirley Hill. He loves to hear her. Many of you do. I just pointed him out. Cousin Alice, thanks for joining. Pastor Cecilia, smooches to you. I love you. Thanks for joining us on today. So as you guys come in, if you would not mind going ahead and hit the share button, please make sure you hit like as well. We would appreciate it. We want to know that you're listening. We want to know that you are appreciating what we're giving out to you on today. Minister Rose, thank you for joining us on today. And again, as you can see here, I have in my midst Dr. Shirley Hill, Mo Faith Nutritional Services. And how are you on this afternoon?
I am doing well. God is good.
Yes.
You know, He's good. So I have nothing to complain about.
Well, that's a good
Nothing,
thing.
nothing. As a matter of fact, He has been showing me so much favor in these last couple of weeks
Is that right?
that I would probably be struck by lightning if I did complain.
You know what? I think we all would take on that mentality when the Lord blesses us. Just remember what He's done, and then you wouldn't have room to complain. Actually, you know what they say. One song say, what is it? I'm taking so much time praising the Lord that I can't focus on, all the other.
Okay.
So if you
I
put your
like
energy into thanking the Lord for all He's
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
okay, I think I
Yeah.
might have got that song mixed up, but y'all know what I mean. Okay. Byron Hill, thanks for watching. Appreciate you.
Hey.
Demetrius is on. Thank you. And if you guys didn't get a chance to hear that jingle at the beginning, that is our jingle writer and psalmist, Demetrius Hunt. Get caught in the net. So, you can look her up. She's got some awesome projects out, and I think she's got a book coming out too. So the Lord is really blessing all
Awesome.
these wonderful
Awesome.
men and women of God. God
Yeah.
is doing great things. He is. Before we go into our topic on today, I just want to say that I went out on Sunday twice to go and support a wonderful man and woman of God.
Yes.
Apostle
Yes.
Dion Hunt he celebrated 14 years in ministry with his church family, so-called, and his blood family, all those that came out, and Pastor Cecilia Hunt. And I'm so glad and grateful that I had an opportunity to stop by.
Yeah.
I did a lot running around on Sunday, but that's okay because I wanted to get there. I wanted to make sure I showed and gave my support for these beautiful people, and they're jewels. They really are, and I'm grateful. And as I sat there, Dr. Hill, I wanted to say this. As I sat there and I listened at the second service, because I got up the first service to say something, but
Yes.
at the second service, actually, it's still at the first one too. When I would listen to everybody else,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, he has touched so many.
Yes.
And then I was
Yes.
also looking at the young people.
Yes.
That's what really grabbed me.
Yeah.
And I said, and then
Yeah.
the one young man who talked about, was it Norman, maybe the last name Norman, talked about when his father was no
Yes.
longer in his life, or
When his
what
father passed.
passed. Okay. When
Mhm.
his father passed, and how Apostle stepped in. I said,
Yeah.
that's what we
Yes.
need.
Absolutely.
That's what we need right there.
Absolutely.
And I was just, it really touched me. It really
Yeah.
did. I was
Yeah.
so grateful to hear all of that and to hear how the Lord has blessed him
Yes.
to minister to others. And as we talked last week, because we did a surprise show for him last week,
Hmm.
someone mentioned to take time out and encourage your leaders.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
they give out so much to us.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see about them.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why we have so many leaders that are committing suicide
Yes.
is because the enemy can seduce them into believing that their life is it has no meaning, that what they're doing, that it is not effective, that it's not changing lives, because people are so demanding upon the leader, and then they are so critical of the leader, and then they have the audacity and the unmitigated gall to act like they think they know more than the leader, and get upset when they call and the leader does not jump through hoops and whatever, like your emergency constitutes an immediate reaction. When that's why we go to the Lord.
Right.
That's why we go to God.
Definitely.
And so they're so underappreciated. They're so underappreciated.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are indeed. And so, with that in mind, we have to make sure that we do our part in appreciating them and
Yes.
letting them know that we love them. And I know today's show is not about that. Pastor Cecilia said, "Thank you for coming. I love and appreciate you." That was nothing to come out. It was nothing. I felt an honor to come and participate with you guys, and I enjoyed the guest speakers and all of that. Okay, so we're going to keep going with that if I allow it, but we're going to try and get into today's topic. Minister Adams, I see you on. And thank you all for these compliments. They're saying that we look lovely today. Isn't that wonderful?
Thank you.
How nice of
She
you guys.
looks lovely. I know.
That's her. I'm trying to be like her. Okay, we're talking today about disease by design.
Yes.
And in my pre-show, Dr. Hill, I said a myriad of things can come in your mind when you hear that title.
Yeah,
you can think about so many things. You can think about, and I couldn't get it straight on my pre-show when they did the testing years ago. Very famous. Oh gosh, help me, when they injected so many individuals with Somebody help me out.
Syphilis. Are
Was it
you
a
talking
syphilis?
about, yeah, the
Yes.
black men?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, the
yes.
black
Thank
men
you. I
that
think
they,
that's what I'm
yes.
referring to.
Uh-huh.
And so you could think about that,
Yes.
in terms of whether it was by design,
Mm-hmm.
And so we were trying to, figure out exactly which way you were going to go with this on today. Of course, it's open for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell us, how you want to go with this, and maybe explain to us what you mean of, maybe first off, disease by design. What does that mean?
Well, I remember years ago when I think it was in 2000, and when President Obama was first running for, he wasn't president, but he was first running for president. And Dr. Hunt took us to New York to pray for, America. And, just not to pray for the presidency, not to pray for the election, but to pray for the nation. And so we went and we spent, it was a shut-in / revival. And people came from, we had people there from Africa. We had someone there from Africa, from Europe, just from all over, everywhere, as we shut in the church there. And so I believe it was the last, maybe the day before we were ending, Dr. Hunt, he sequestered us. And he said, I want you to go into prayer and want you to ask God to give you something, to give you a mystery, to let you look into a mystery of something that is happening, in the world. And he said to, in your area, in your gifting. And so we all did what he said, and I did what he said. And this is going to sound funny because it didn't sound like anything to anybody. They were like, "Oh, really?" It was like that. And so, but what the Spirit of the Lord said to me was, watch the pattern and the design. Now that doesn't pattern and design for what? The Chrysler, the BMW, the
Something in your
latest
house.
sandwich, what? But I knew that he was talking about the physical body because that's my area. And so when he said pattern and design, that in my mind it said genetics. It's because that's where everything that we are is housed in our genes. The pattern for our physical body and for our blue or brown or gray or whatever color eyes we have and whatever color hair is up under all this dye and tint and bleach that it's in the genes. And so I said, okay, God, and I began to pay attention. What was being done with the DNA and with the genes. Now, if I do have a direction that I want to go. So is it all right if I just go there?
Yes.
Okay. Some of the things I'm going to say, if you follow me, if you come to Wellness Wednesday, if you've been at any of the workshops, it might be, some of these things might be, you might recognize it because I've said it before. And then some of you will recognize it because it'll be from something that Dr. Hunt has said. And so, you may recognize it, but trust me, by the end of the day, you'll be so glad you heard it again and you can put it all together. When we look in Genesis, the first chapter, we know that God established the law of kinds, told all the species to reproduce after their own genetic nature. Kinds is a genetic term that means DNA, it means species, it means genetic nature. And so that's a genetic term, and it was a command for every species to pass your DNA or your genes genetic structure. And so Satan, as he watched and knew, first of all, who is this upstart, this new species that God has placed on this planet, and giving him the authority over a planet that I had passed down to. And then he was commanded. So he is a God with a little g, and has been commanded to reproduce and replenish this earth with more gods. And so I got to do something about this. I stand for this. And so he seduced Eve, who didn't know one command, the one command they had. She didn't have that right. Seduced her into doing something that God had clearly stated don't do. And the don't eat from this tree. Now you got the whole garden. You have all the trees, all the root plants, all the fruits, vegetables, everything in this garden. Don't eat from this one tree. And I'll tell you why. Because in the day that you eat from this tree, you will surely, without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to die. Now, that did not mean that she was going to drop dead. You've heard me. I know this is repeating myself. But it did not mean that she was going to drop dead. It meant that there was a gene inside that tree that was different, that was not the same kind as the other trees and other plants that they could eat from because they gave the physical body life. I will go back to that word life. It gave the body life. This tree, in the day that you eat of this tree, you will surely die. Okay, so then in the day that they ate of this tree, because its kind, its gene was not life, its gene was death. It had a death gene. And so in the day that she ate from that, and the day that she gave it to her husband and ate from that, then they doomed the race of mankind to reproduce death, pass it down throughout. And so, but God still had a design and a plan, right? He put the angel there with the flaming sword. Don't let them back to this tree, the tree of life, because I don't want them to live forever with this death gene in sin. My mercy is going to be that they can never again eat from the tree of life, not during this, this time, and live in this status forever. And so here we are, where we had nothing but life. Now we have to contend with death. Now, there are several scriptures that Dr. Hunt uses when he is teaching pertaining to life.
Can I just say this?
Yes.
That was an awesome breakdown of Genesis. That was an awesome breakdown.
Yeah.
I never really heard it. Well, you kind of heard, bits
Yeah.
and pieces, but I love the way you just put that together.
And that's the way God gave it to me. Remember when I was homeless? And and on that cold floor in January and February under my fur coat. That's in Genesis, that first and second chapter.
Beautiful.
That was what he gave me.
Okay.
And so remember now that he's put him in a garden. He put him in a garden. And remember that the man's flesh, it came from, and you all, if I need to take another route, if this is boring, you just, and say boring.
you all that are listening, Dr. Hill is so hilarious to me, but she likes to keep it on the real. So, but this is good stuff. I mean, I'm enjoying it. So you can continue on.
Okay. And so God, he put them in a garden for a reason. And you all have heard me say it before. He took man's flesh, the physical body, out of the dust of the earth, topsoil. That dust was topsoil. Topsoil is the most nutrient dense soil and all of the layers of furrows of the earth. So he made man's physical body out of nutrient dense earth. Then he put them in a garden where his food that he would eat, plants, grew out of the same thing that he made their physical body out of. So then plants are plants that give life. They are the same kind as your physical body. They're the same kind because they originate from the same thing, nutrient dense soil. And so, and I know somebody is saying, but what about the soil? It's been stripped and blah, 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 blah. We'll get to that later. But right now we're staying in Genesis, first chapter. And so, now remember, we're talking about the pattern and the design. Now, this is the pattern and the design that God had. This is his pattern and design. And so he made man out of nutrient dense soil. Then he put him in a garden that had his food grew out of nutrient dense soil. Now, I'm going to take you to one scripture, and maybe Brandy or I'll come back and put on the other scriptures that Dr. Hunt also uses with this. But this is a scripture that God gave me when I first, back in those first days. And it was life and death is in the power of the tongue. And after a while, I stopped using that scripture because I always got this argument, even from leaders, that scripture is talking what you say. It is not talking about what you eat. When in fact, when you look up that word life there, you will see that it's kai. It is talking about fresh vegetation, clean water, and being lively. And so it is, in actuality, it is talking about what you eat.
Yeah, I would think so.
Exactly talking about what you
eat.
And then when you look up the word death there, it is talking about your physical body being graveyard dead. So it is saying that. And then when we go over to Job said, is there iniquity in my tongue? Can it not discern a degenerate thing? And so God said, how? And I believe it's Jeremiah. I may be wrong, and I think I am. But God said, how did you become a degenerate plant unto me? He said, I planted you a right seed. How did you become degenerate? And so Dr. Hunt Apostle brought out that word degenerate, because I don't know, for some reason I had not looked it up. Well, it wouldn't have clicked any earlier than now anyway. But the word degenerate means to turn off.
Okay.
It means to turn off. Now, genes are switches.
Okay.
And whatever gene is switched off, that should be on, all of the pathways that gene regulates will be turned off.
Okay, I get it.
You get it?
I'm with you.
Okay, am I clear with everybody? Because if I need to say that again or say it another way, somebody type it in. Because I want to make sure you get it.
Let her know if you're clear.
Yeah, if you're clear, let me know. And so
they look like they're
good
with you. Yeah.
Okay. So then genes. Now remember, they carry the DNA. The DNA is the instructions for our physical life. And so if you turn off a switch, which is degeneration or degeneration, then everything that switch controls is turned off. Now, or if you turn on a gene that's originally turned off, because the difference between species are the genes that are turned on and off.
Okay.
And so if you turn on a gene that should not be turned on, now that's we're talking about uh, genetic diseases,
Okay.
diseases that are passed down.
All right.
Every female in your last 50 generations could have had breast cancer. And it comes to you, down to you, and the doctors, they want to know who's had what, who had breast cancer in your family, because that's a that has been turned on. It That makes you susceptible to a disease. But now, if you don't turn that switch on, you'll never get the disease.
If you don't turn it on.
If the
Okay.
switch or the gene is not turned on.
But how does it not get turned on if it was in your family history?
Now, remember, switches are turned on, can be turned on or turned off.
Okay.
Okay. So then, just because you have a gene doesn't mean that it will necessarily be on or off. We go back to that food, because it's what you eat that turns on.
That's why I wanted you to get to.
Yeah, it's what we eat that turns those switches on or off. Now, remember, was the last month we talked about the vitamin C?
Yes.
Did we talk about it?
Yes.
Sometimes I get confused about where I was when I talked about what.
Yeah. Well, either we did or you and I talked about it, because I remember vitamin C.
That other species, their body makes vitamin C. I thought I turned you on.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what were you saying about vitamin C?
Other species make vitamin C. Why is it we don't make vitamin C?
We did talk about this last time. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And there once was a time that we did make vitamin C, but the switch was turned off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the switch was turned off. Now let's look at what we lost when we lost that vitamin C. Vitamin C is not the only thing, but it's just my favorite thing because it does so many things. Vitamin C, it repairs the DNA. Now the DNA is the instructions for life. And remember, God said to man to reproduce after your DNA. Well, his DNA spiritually was God. That was his DNA spiritually.
Yes.
And then the Holy Spirit, it dwells within this physical body. And this physical body should reflect the Holy Spirit and the Spirit of God that's on the inside of it, right? And so that has to be changed. The enemy says, how do I change it? What do I do? So now, after watching God and seeing how God made man and how he made man to function and operate, and watching, that he put in the earth, he says, okay, oh, this is simple. All I have to do is introduce something into that physical body that will alter or cause a mutation in those genes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so when we eat what we eat, now every time we eat something, we're either turning on or turning off switches.
Ooh, I didn't want you to say it, but I knew that's what you were going to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question here on Facebook Live. Tahisha, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, asked if you can give an example. Can you, Tisha, let me know what were you referring to? Did she already give you
of what?
Did she already give you an example, or what exactly were you referring to when you asked the question?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give an example? I'm not exactly. I don't want to think for her. If you're still there and you're listening, can you please type that in exactly, and then she can answer your question.
Yes.
And to add on to that, if any of you have any questions or comments about what Dr. Hill is talking about right now, and even throughout this session, please make sure if you're on Facebook Live, and you can go into the comment section, put it there. And we also can take your call today. We can open up the phone line 708-223-8953. Again, 708-223-8953. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Whether it is talking, you're asking a question or comment about exactly our topic on today, which is disease by design, or if you have another question that you were trying to wait for this month to ask Dr. Hill about in relation to health, then she will definitely answer it for you. She's more than willing to help us all out. She is doing a double header today, as you all should remember. It is her double Wednesday. She's on Mind, Body, and Soul 12 o'clock, and then also she does her wellness workshop in the evening, beginning at 6:30.
6:30 to 8 p.m. And beginning this month, we will be at 19 East 110th Place in the
Emo Jones.
Emil Jones Senior Citizens in their rec room until we're back into our permanent home. And then I'll probably switch back and forth with the library. Now the library, this month they didn't have not one room available.
It's summertime. You have to think
summertime.
everything. Everybody's booking it.
And so just kind of watch out to see where we'll be. And this is where we'll be tonight.
Great.
So
Brandy, if you're listening, can you please put that information on this
Yeah.
live feed? And also, Brandy has tagged me on a couple of posts informing us of tonight's event and where it will be.
good.
So let's see. Tahisha, I think this is her question. And again, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name right. How do we know which foods turn on and off which switches?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was going to get to it eventually. This must be the right time. If it doesn't come out, if it didn't come out the garden, then the body is not going to respond well. And I can give you an example. With diabetes, they tell you, and especially if you're on kidney dialysis, those patients are told that they cannot, let me get it right. Of course, we know that everybody has a problem with the sodium. Oh, help me, Holy Spirit. They tell them not to eat dark leafy greens and a lot of raw foods because of the potassium. Well, even research shows that the physical body, that it acts extremely well and that it increases in health when you eat raw foods. And so the potassium, the sodium, all of the minerals and whatever else it is that they're telling you shouldn't eat for your condition, they're absolutely right. If it comes out of a box, bottle, or can. If it comes out of a box, bottle, or can, it is going to either turn on or turn off switches that should not be turned off or turned off. Whatever the adverse effect is for that those switches regulate in whatever organ, tissue, cell systems, whatever they regulate, that comes out of the box, bottle, or can is going to cause a degeneration. It's going to cause a degeneration. Now, we can look at fat. Fat is the easy one because we all like fat. But your breast tissue is fat. Your breast tissue is fatty tissue. Your liver makes fat. That's why they say dietary cholesterol, because it comes from your diet. And it does not have the enzymes that are needed for the body to be able to use it in whatever capacity the body needs it to be used. That comes out of a box, bottle, or can, it came out of a laboratory, and it does not have it does not have the cofactors that are needed to cause it to function in the body as it should. If all of the diseases that we have are because of a non-enzymatic end stage process. Now, what does that mean? Let me make it real simple for you. And I have not, I know it sounds like I've forgotten your question. I have not. What causes what causes switches to be turned on and off? Now, but let's look at it this way. When you eat meat sandwich, a simple sandwich is in essence a tumor. It's basically a tumor, especially if when we're talking about the enriched bread that we eat. Now let's break it down and see how many diseases. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm just going to do a couple. How many degenerations we can get out of this sandwich. The bread, enriched flour. It may be brown, but it's nice and soft. So that means it's been colored brown, and it's been colored brown by propylene glycol or one of its cofactors entities, and that is a antifreeze. And so unless you will take that antifreeze that you put in your car and pour it in a glass and drink it, then you're going to have some degeneration there because antifreeze didn't come out of the garden. It wasn't meant for your body. So also looking at that enriched flour, and you've heard me say this over and over again, if you've been around me, that enriched flour is enriched or refined flour, has been refined by them using the chemical alloxan. Alloxan causes degeneration in the pancreas. It causes degeneration in the pancreas. So it causes the pancreas to malfunction and stop functioning in some cases. And of course, we know that's called diabetes. And so then it's also those of us that are old enough to remember when we made our glue at home and we used flour and water. We didn't have all this other fancy additives to go with it. We just used flour and water. And so when you're talking about that white bread or, colored white bread, you're basically talking about flour and water, and then you throw some butter in there, which is if you throw margarine in there, then you've got a trans fatty acid that's a plastic that will not break down in the body. If you use butter, you have a saturated fat which will take longer and will cause a blockage somewhere in that body. And so we're just talking about the bread. We haven't even got to the meat yet that you got on top of the bread.
Can we breathe now first?
Take a breath. Take a breath, because most of us, all of our meals consist of starches and meat.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
You're stepping on so many toes
I know,
now, right?
I know, but I'm gonna help you. If you listen, I'm gonna help you, because this will tell you, you'll be able to trace what I'm saying back to your dis-ease. Any questions?
Tahisha, is saying understood. She said, thanks for the clear example. Got it. So this is good. You're answering. And I know they're laughing at me on here because I just put my head down when you start talking about sandwiches.
Yeah, the Earl of Sandwich, I be getting residuals from when he slapped that bread with some meat and called it a sandwich. Yeah, he should still be getting paid big time. Because that's all it was a fad. And so many people have gone into eternity because of the fad.
Oh, my Jesus. You know what I think we're going to do here? We're going to take a quick break. I need to gather myself. We're going to take a quick break here. This is good. Were you through with that point? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, let me do the meat.
Okay. Yes, please do.
Okay. So then now we're going to add the meat. The difficulty with that is that bread and starches, or meat and starches, are the digestive juices are diametrically opposed. So your bread is an alkaline digestive juice and your meat is an acid, the strongest acid that the body makes. And when you put them together, those of you that remember anything from your biology or chemistry, you know that when you combine an acid and an alkali, they neutralize one another. And when they neutralize one another, digestion does not take place. So, what does the body do with that lump of glue and meat? What can it do with it? It can't do anything with it but to stick it somewhere. And carbohydrates are real friendly to the gut, and we can see when it's been stuck there. And then we're talking about this meat um and this bread, right? Now you think about it, ball it up together, and does that feel like the lump that you may have in your breast?
Wow.
And what about the blockages that you may have in your heart, and or the in your veins? When the blood is not circulating in your legs, when your leg, you've had those blood clots in your legs, or you've had a stroke or heart attack. And so then we can see the pathways, right? And so then there is a pattern and a design that the body God specifically made the body in a particular fashion. He was very clear on what is food for the body, and really that is raw fruits. We don't like it, but it comes out of a garden. Now, it- most of the problems we have is because of meat and sugar. Most of the problems we have is because of meat and sugar. And I promise you that's a tumor when you combine meat and sugar. When you cook raw fruits and vegetables, when you cook them in those lovely little pies, those beautiful little pies, where we cook the peaches and we cook all of those beautiful little fruit things and whatever, we kill the enzymes.
Peach
And
cobbler.
I love peach cobbler, is my favorite. And then my favorite part of the peach cobbler is the crust.
The crust.
It is the crust.
It has to be the crust.
But I'm gluten intolerant. I can't eat the crust.
Oh my Lord.
And then the peaches, I just killed them when I cooked them. So now what I'm getting ready to eat is a tumor. I'm getting ready to eat a heart attack, a stroke, a blockage, joints, and stiffness and pain in my joints, and cataracts on my eyes, and just a whole. I could name a whole lot of other stuff.
Yes, you could.
And so, and we all know now. The question was asked: what turns off switches and turns them on, and what we design. And so when it is turned, when a switch that should be off is turned on, then you're gonna, it's the same effect, disease. And when a switch that should be on is turned off, then you're going to have malfunctioning in all of those pathways, or it will stop functioning, like we don't have vitamin C anymore. Vitamin C will fight against everything, because vitamin C boosts the immune system. It repairs the cell membrane. It strengthens. The body builds collagen. That collagen is the cement for all of the tissue, cells, and organs for the body. It's so anything that is missing. So the reason we don't make vitamin C anymore is because of the enzyme that helps to produce, and I can't even pronounce it, but that particular enzyme was shut off.
Whew.
And so the gene was shut off. And because the gene was shut off, the enzyme can no longer make or produce the vitamin C because of the mutation in the gene.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to take a break now.
Okay.
This is good stuff.
Good.
We are enjoying this. This is going to help us. They're gonna help us.
Yeah.
They're chiming in, and a lot of people right now. But you know what, God, this is by design.
Yes.
This show is by design.
Yes.
We're talking about disease by design. We have Dr. Shirley Hill of Mo Faith Nutritional Services in the studio. This is our regular monthly health segment on Mind, Body, and Soul. So you all should be taking down notes, get your pen and paper, your iPad, whatever. Tahisha told us that she is going to share, she's going to like, she's going to rewind this, she's enjoying this. And I see all of you on here making your comments. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a quick break, have you listen to some music, kind of gather your thoughts, from what she just told us, kind of, soak it all in. And then we're going to come back for more of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. We are here on Intellectual Radio. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. We are here on Intellectual Radio, and we have the wonderful Dr. Hill, Dr. Shirley Hill of Mo Faith Nutritional Services, and that is spelled MOPHETH Nutritional Services. You can look her up on Facebook. I believe her website is still under construction. Maybe, yeah. We'll say that. We'll say that.
Don't start branding.
And she's going to get it. But, you can still contact her. You can look her up, Shirley Hill, on Facebook Live, or you can look on Mo Faith Nutritional Services. She does go out. She does seminars and conferences. And thank you, Brandy, for posting to the flyer for tonight's Wellness Wednesday workshop. Dr. Hill does a double on Wednesday. She comes here first in the afternoon, And God, we surely appreciate you. We really do. And then in the evening at 6:30, she has her wellness workshop. This evening, the location has changed. And if you can look on my Facebook Live, we will notice that Brandy has put the flyer, which has the address, and I think Kamitra's typed it in here somewhere. So, guys, thank you so much for putting that up because in the evening she goes into a little bit more detail than she does here on the show.
What can I add?
You can
I
add.
say stuff in the evening that I couldn't dare say on this live broadcast. So you need to be out if you can. If you're in the city, near or surroundings, you should be there because I go. mm, I, I have to stay
She
out of
goes
jail
raw.
here. Yeah.
She goes, and some of you probably say, "Wait, she going raw now?"
No, no.
This is not that kind of raw. Emo Jones Center at 19 East 110th Place, 6:30 p.m. tonight. So make sure you join Dr. Hill. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. She's going to go into more detail. Okay, Dr. Hill, you kind of blew us away earlier. You know, you talked about you were answering the young lady's question, and then you kind of went into more detail about these sandwiches. And I'm sure somebody might have been eating a sandwich at the time that you were saying that.
Absolutely.
You know, but again, you're telling us stuff that's going to help us.
Yes.
Disease by Design is today's title, today's session title. So what other direction did you want to go in? Did you want to continue on with what you were discussing earlier? You want to go in a different direction?
Well, I kind of wanted to stay with the food, and I want people to understand the design of disease.
Okay.
The
All right.
design of disease, because it is not by happenstance. Is that the word? That we are a nation of disease. Other nations describe America in this fashion. They say that we are the largest importer, or our largest import product is cancer. Now, you think about that.
That's deep.
That is deep. And when you think about all of the monies and all of the walks and all of the ribbons and all of those things that we have done, especially all of the money that has been collected for cancer research, and we now have, it is mind-boggling. How is it that they know that in 2020 we'll have another million people with cancer? How do they know that? How do they predict that? You never thought about it, did you?
I'd never thought about it like that.
Well, let's look at it this way. If you have ever eaten a hot dog, a hamburger, pastrami, bologna, any of those processed meats, or even barbecue, grilled meats, and any of that, then you've got cancer cells. So, but everybody's got cancer cells because everybody's eating a hot dog, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then going back to those switches, who's going to turn that cancer gene on? Who's going to turn that switch on? We've all got it, but not everybody has a switch, a cancer switch, or cancer switches that have been turned on. That's why everybody doesn't have cancer, although everyone has eaten a hot dog or a hamburger, or my very favorite, cancer sticks, not cigarettes, but French fries. And so we all have the switches. But now what's going to turn them on? Sugar turns on those switches for that cancer. Now, is sugar in everything that's produced in America? Everything. Salt, sugar, and fats is in everything that we eat that is produced in America. And I think they say, well, last time I looked, I think every American has 150 pounds of sugar, whatever the statistics were. And you can look it up. You're right there on that. Actually, you can look it up right now. Every American. That's the children. We give, I like to take the bus, and I ask people if they mind if I take a picture, because I'll take a picture. Um, this gentleman, he was a grandfather. He had 4 grandchildren with him. They were all girls. They were all little girls. Everybody had a bag of candy. Everybody had a juice or a pop. They had some. They were just passing back and forth all of this stuff, and one little one, she couldn't be still. She couldn't be still. She couldn't be still, and he was ready to wring her neck. And I smiled before I said what I said, so he wouldn't be offended. I said, I'm amazed that you can expect her to be still, and she has all of that candy. I said, sugar makes her bounce off the walls, right? And he was like, then he thought for a minute, because it's like you're asking her to do something that is literally impossible for her, because you just fed her all of this sugar, which is going to turn on those cancer genes from the hot dog she has getting ready to have had yesterday.
Come on, you are working this.
And then of course in that bag there's some chocolate, and American chocolate is just, let me see, wait a minute, hold up. It's the chocolate that turns the genes on. And of course, our chocolate has butter in it, cream in it, sugar in it, everything that cancer loves, and other diseases. It's just, I like to say it's a tumor. That's a tumor too. And so the chocolate turns the genes on, but sugar makes them hyper. So you've got cancer, you go to the doctor, you've got cancer in the first stage, or you have precancerous inflamed tissue. And then you go back 2 months later and you're in the fourth stage. How did you get in the fourth stage from the first stage, or from precancers to the last stage of cancer in a month, 2 months? Well, one was the biopsy, because if it had cancer cells in it and they cut into it, then those cancer cells are going to escape from that encapsulation and they're going to spread through the body. So now you've got a metastasized cancer in different sites of the body. That's a design also. The tests are designed. Radiation, any test that uses radiation causes cancer. And so, but there are foods now. There are foods that will repair the damage, that radiation damage from that has been done to the DNA. Those foods are something that we rarely, if ever, eat. We don't even know. And that is sea greens, kelp, spirulina, chlorella, all of those things, they repair. I think it was in Okinawa when we dropped the bombs, when they began to recover. One of the things that they did was they began to give the people, for that radiation poisoning, they began to give them sea plants and seafoods. And so most of us have never heard of it, and most certainly have never tasted it. But kelp would be one of those things that we could use instead of salt, because kelp, it is a sea plant, but it is salty.
Oh, okay.
And so it can be used, and it does reverse radiation damage to the DNA. So, but the design is, we believe we have to go and get a mammogram, and we believe that we have to go and get, they give us 3 tests at one time, that have, and I know the mammogram, it's depressing and whatever, but if there is a tumor there that is cancerous, and that tumor is pressed and it bursts, then it's going to spread to your lymph nodes and go throughout your body. And so, and I've already said about the biopsy. But the aspiration, if they take a needle and aspirate that tumor and it has cancer cells in it, when that needle comes out, it's going to drag those cancer cells out and they're going to be dispersed throughout the body by design. And so that vitamin C, now see, vitamin C repairs at the DNA. Vitamin C boosts the immune system. The immune system, when it finds a cancer cell, because its job is to seek out and destroy whatever is not self, when it finds a cancer cell, then the macrophage will encapsulate it. Now that's your tumor. So a tumor is not a bad thing. A tumor is actually a good thing because a tumor is a macrophage called big eaters. They, when they find something that doesn't have your DNA and it should not be there, it encapsulates it. And then the immune system does its job. The T cells come and, check the DNA to see if it's self or not self. Then it takes it back to the, wherever the immune system, and then the B cells make the bug spray, and then all of that kind of stuff until they destroy whatever the entity is. When you cut into that macrophage that has encapsulated that cancer cell or that virus or that poisonous bacteria or that chemotherapy, when you cut into it, then you release it into the bloodstream. And so it spreads throughout the body. And so there we have to recognize, see, we think eating is something that we think is supposed to be pleasurable. We think it's something for our entertainment. We think it is something, but we never think of it as food, and we never think of it as that turns switches on and off. And those switches, depending upon, how they should be, depending upon that is what determines whether or not you are facilitating disease in the body. Now, we were at Dr. Hunt. We were up at one of our sister churches, sitting. The two leaders, Dr. Hunt and this other leader, they were sitting at the table just like this. And his wellness administrator brought in a cup, gave them both a glass of something. And it caught my attention because it was either green or bright blue. And so I said, okay, now I'm going to have to be gracious. How do I do this? So what I did was I just kind of walked next to Dr. Hunt and I just slid the glass away from him. And so he said, can I have a cup of green tea? Would you mind if I had a cup of green tea? And so I said, yes, sir, I'll get you a cup of green tea. And so I went and I asked the young lady, I said, what was in that glass that you gave to the leaders? She said, it was Gatorade. I said, really? I said, did you know the Gatorade has antifreeze in it? I said, that pretty color? I said, it's antifreeze. She said, no, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, and it's very important. I said, because that will attack the heart. And I believe if I did a study on it, we would find that a lot of these leaders that are having heart attacks, when they finish preaching, that their drink was Gatorade because they're trying to replenish the electrolytes and give themselves, replace the energy that was lost. But that Gatorade, it constricts the blood vessels. You just finished preaching down heaven. You need all the oxygen you can get. You just finished, and it causes them to collapse and go into cardiac arrest.
That would be a good study to do.
Mm-hmm.
That really would.
Yeah, it is something. I'll tell you something else that I want to do a study on. These children that have gone into the schools and shot up everybody, I would like to know how many of them were on medication, that the side effect was suicidal tendencies and depression.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say you would love to get a history of their eating habits and what they've been eating.
Well, you know that medication, remember this is the design.
Right.
Um, Medication, if we and I'm we've got all of this direct TV and all of these different things that have no commercials. It's the commercials that tell you all the side effects of the medication that that you're
Exactly.
taking. It's the commercials that tell you which medications are being sued by how many people and how much money they're getting because the medication has caused either deaths or disease. But we never see them because we don't watch television programs. We don't watch basic TV with the commercials and all of that. We watch the stuff that doesn't have the information that we need. So medication turns switches on and off. That's the design. Because high blood pressure medication, one of the side effects of high blood pressure medication is that it raises the glucose levels, which leads to, you tell me.
And somebody else tell her, 'cause I don't know. She's got me mesmerized with what she's saying. So I really don't know.
Okay, so now I'm paying you back.
Yeah, you did. She got me back. I got her earlier, but that's okay.
But you all, somebody type in if your glucose level, your sugar levels are too high, what is that disease called? And so I'm going to wait a minute before I tell you, and let me say this.
When your glucose levels are too high, what disease is it? Let me refresh this to see if somebody put it in here. Because if I say something like, okay, no, she just doesn't know what she's talking about. Then, well, that's what I have her on here for. Pastor Cece, I was thinking that. Thank you. Diabetes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see. I knew somebody knew, and Pastor Cece knows everything. She can wake up out of a dead sleep and have the answer to your question, and we have seen her do it and go back to sleep.
Is that right? Is that right? Oh my goodness. Tisha said diabetes as well. Let me hop over here to Facebook Live. They are making comments and questions. Okay. And let's see. I saw something earlier. Brandy's making comments, as what you're saying. She's kind of writing them down. Tumors are not the enemy. They're just doing their job. This is good. And I also saw, when I asked the question, well, when you mentioned about the those who go into these schools and shoot up and everything, you said you wanted to study the medicine. Brandy was agreeing with me. I thought you were going to say you wanted to study what they were eating because food can do the turning on and off too, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I will tell you this. This is something that I've done for years when I go to schools and talk to class and talk to the auditorium, with the kids. I ask them, how many of you have anger management problems? How many of you get in frequent fights? How many of you have short attention spans? How many of you, and I just go down the line, the same ones raise their hands. And then I say, how many of you love, in the Spanish community, they're Takis. In our community, they're called what? Those red chips.
Oh, the with like the Cheetos with the
help me out. Someone on Facebook.
I don't eat it. Thank God.
I don't eat it either. And I started talking about it, and I should have had the name in my mind before I started talking about it. But it's those red, those hot, the hot
Cheetos and stuff.
And they're not the Cheetos. They're you know what Takis are, right?
Well,
they're those chips. So they're our form of Takis. Oh my gosh. And they're the kids eat them, and they eat them by the bags.
They're not Doritos or anything, are they?
Doritos is one of them.
One of them. Okay.
Doritos does have them, but
I'm refreshing to see if anybody's saying it.
Yeah, I will please say Flaming Hot.
Okay. See, I don't
Flaming Hot. That red, so thank you, whoever said that. Thank you very much. That red stuff on there is MSG. It's monosodium glutamate.
Are you serious, Dr. Hill?
Yes, and monosodium glutamate changes the structure of the brain. Now, remember, we're talking about disease by design. They sell this stuff in the stores across the street from our schools. Our children eat them for breakfast because on their way into school, they run in there and get them bags. They're not supposed to be able to bring it into school, but they don't check or take it away from them. And so they've eaten several bags before they even came into the school ground. Now, mind you, it changes the structure of the brain. It makes you angry. It makes you have a short attention span. It makes you frustrated. It does all of those things that makes for a really good fight. And so now remember, these are the same kids that said that they get into regular fights, that they're angry all of the time, that they have a short attention span, that they're having difficulty in classes because they cannot they because of the short attention span and because of the anger and all of these things. And so and then I said, how many of you all eat those, what is flaming hots?
Right. That's what I
Yeah, the
said.
flaming hots, Doritos, all of those chips that have that red stuff on it. And the same kids raised their hand. And I said, if you eat more than 2 bags in the morning, come up to the stage. And they got up and come up to the stage. They lined across the stage. And then I began to explain to them that this I usually hate these commercials say, it's not your fault. That really burns me. But
That's a little
and
commercial
yeah,
for
it's
this
a
here.
commercial. But in this case, it's not their fault. It's disease by design. And it is not a secret what monosodium glutamate, MSG, what it does to the brain. And the FDA, the government, they know it. And then we like to say, well, don't they study it? No, FDA doesn't study anything. They don't test anything. They let the company tell them what they found in their fake tests. And then um they'll put them on grandfather status. If it's been on the market for 10 years or whatever it is, that now I just pulled the number out of my head, then you can't get it off the market.
Disease by design.
Disease by design.
Yeah. You all get it now?
Mhm, mhm.
This woo-wee.
So we're purchasing our death. We're purchasing our death. We're giving our children death in the morning. We're giving it to them when they come home: macaroni and cheese, spaghetti and meatballs, French fries and hamburgers, pop with 16 teaspoons of sugar in it. No, no, no. That's a can. That's a 12-ounce can. We're not even talking about these big gulps. How many is in these big gulps? How many is in a liter? How much sugar is in there? If 16 teaspoons is in a 12-ounce can, and sugar gives cancer cells the ability to speedily metastasize through the body. If it feeds viruses, if it feeds the bad bacteria in our gut, actually shuts the immune system down. 1 teaspoon for 70 minutes. 1 teaspoon. So the time it takes your child to leave home and get to school, all of these viruses, bacteria, all of this stuff they have gone through, and their immune system is shut down. And then you wonder why they always have a fever, why they always mucousy, why they catch everything that comes along. Disease by design.
And they haven't even started first period yet.
They haven't started first period.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
don't know what to say about this show today. I don't.
Mhm,
This is,
mhm.
oh my.
The woman of God, the importance of this, and I know I'm rambling and running on, but we only have a certain amount of time. And I really want us to understand the importance of this. We have babies that are now being born with 8% of their DNA. It's viruses. Yeah. Our babies are being born, 8% of their DNA is a virus. Now, those are mutations. Those are mutations. What kind of diseases? Because now remember, and you all do the research. We have diseases now that there are only 10 people that have been found in the whole world that have this disease. Genetic diseases.
Like
Yeah.
what?
There are, you know what? I was looking at something the other day and I don't know, but you can look it up.
Okay.
There are diseases. As a matter of fact, I was half asleep when I saw it. But they had this family on, all three or four of the children had this disease, and they were saying that there were only, I think, four or something. It was under 10, or at least under 20 families that they had found in the whole world that had this disease. Those are genes that have been turned off. But think about it. When they get married, and those genes, when the egg and the sperm come together, and then they begin to mitosis takes place, and all of this, that, and the other, those genes will be passed down from generation to generation to generation. And so then we are changing, literally changing the physical structure of man. What in the world those is the 8% of that DNA? What is it going to produce? What are we producing? What is it? What genes are it turning off? Now, because remember, our genes are what make us human. So those mutations, the more mutations we have, not only are we producing more diseases, but we're also becoming less human. Babies are being born with hearts on the outside of the bodies, no livers. All of this stuff is really, really quiet. It's about 2,000 babies that have heart attacks in the womb every year. And it might be more, because this was a few years ago when I did that research. 2,000 babies a year that have heart attacks in the womb, not outside. And so, disease by design, in at the just before the turn of the century, the pharmaceutical industry came together and had their very first conference or convention. And I think I've said something about this before. And at the end of that convention, they were very optimistic. And the one thing that they had determined as they came out of that convention was that by the next century, you would not be able to recognize uh, the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry and agriculture, that there would be such a change. Now, if you follow it and you follow how the wealthy families, those that control the monies, the real five wealthy families, they began to donate monies to the hospitals. And as they began to donate monies to the hospitals, then they began to say, well, we have to have someone on your board, because we have to make sure that that money is being spent correctly. And then, okay, so now I've got someone from the pharmaceutical industry on the board of the hospital. Why? Why? You make drugs, you make poisons. Why are you on the board at the hospital?
All about the money.
It's all about the money. The drug industry, pharmaceutical industry, they pay for the um, continuing ed, for the continuing education for our doctors and our nurses and whatever. There is a reason that doctors never get nutrition. How do you take care of a physical body that has to eat, and you get nothing on nutrition? How is that?
Right. Exactly. Or that's like a spiritual leader, not even dealing with your soul.
Yeah.
Dealing with everything else but that.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me read this here, and then we're going to take a quick break. Oh, my
Okay.
goodness. Alyssa says that food is also cheaper. Most people can't afford the foods that are good for us. They're just commenting up and down. Demetra says we have diseases now because we started following the behaviors of the dominant culture.
Mm-hmm.
Deborah Banks says, interesting. Then they diagnosed them with ADHD and prescribed drugs. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Gill says, kids having babies, and we're living in a microwave society.
Absolutely.
Okay, here it is. Hence the conditions of the babies born today.
Mm-hmm.
This is deep. Lasagna's on. Thank you for joining and watching. I see you, Josh. And
hello again, sugar.
Again, it's Alyssa, thank you for watching. I know I read some of your comments, but I appreciate you. Brandy says here, out of convenience, we're poisoning, sabotaging, and killing our own children.
Yes.
This is deep. Demetra also says, common sense ways, flaming hots are not the breakfast of champions. True. Buddy says, don't talk about his big gulps, but he's joking. Alyssa was saying both her and her dad has celiac disease, so I think that they are.
I have it too.
Oh, did you mention? Maybe you did mention.
Well, I said that I have a gluten intolerance.
Okay, all right. Buddy says here, these are the kids that are misdiagnosed and misplaced in the school system, and the parents don't know any better.
And thus comes the medication.
Okay.
That's where the medication comes in. And those are psychotropic drugs that change the structure of the brain. A child or an adult that will commit suicide because of a side effect, think about it, suicide is self-murder. Now, what they don't say is that this drug will cause you to murder someone. But what they will say is that it will cause you to be suicidal. Okay, if I'll kill myself, I'll kill you. Because murder is murder.
Indeed. Ooh, she's breaking it down plain and clear. You're listening to Mind, Body, and Soul. Today, we're going to take a quick break. We are here in the studio with Dr. Shirley Hill of Mo Faith Nutritional Services. And I tell you, every time she comes, she mesmerizes me, and I see she's doing it to you as well. We're going to take a quick break because we have a spoken word by Elder Kevin McGee for today's topic. We're going to let that play a little song, and we'll come back for the rest of the time we have here. Woo, this time is going by fast. Take a listen.
Oh, my goodness.
Center for Disease Control. But what diseases are they controlling? And who is the control group? Who are the test subjects? You know, the one they advertise for newspapers or online for quote-unquote sleep studies, or perhaps they want to try a new asthma medication. Just what are you signing up for? Tuskegee Experiments 2.0? Be careful of Miss Evers and her bad blood. Is the government really concerned about curing or helping companies profit? Or perhaps this is just a new way of testing biochemical weapons to be used in unsuspecting regions? New diseases popping. Maybe it's because of the cropping of food and the chemicals they are being irradiated with. Am I the only one who feels Popeye's chicken is abnormally large? But hey, love that chicken from Popeyes. Perhaps something in the water. The thousands of bottled H2O all profess purity, but are they really? Or maybe all of this are just conspiracy theories.
When Moses went to the top of the mountain, he lifted his hands. When he lifted his hands on the mountain, the people won the battle down in the valley. Great things happen. Great things happen when shepherds worship. When shepherds worship. Miracles happen. When shepherds worship. You need to know. Great things happen. When shepherds worship. When shepherds worship. And victory happens. When our hands are raised. When our hands are raised. We are men of God, and worship is what we do. We love to praise. We must go to that place before we can leave. So let us worship Him in spirit, worship Him in truth. For all that He's already done and everything He will do, because great things happens when shepherds worship, and miracles happen when shepherds praise. When shepherds praise. Everybody needs to know great things happen when shepherds worship. When shepherds worship. Victory happens when our hands are raised. Nehemiah 8:6 says that Ezra praised the Lord, the great God, and all the people shouted, Amen, as they lifted their hands. Then they bowed down their faces to the ground and they worshiped the Lord. I want everybody under the sound of my voice right now to help us say, we give you praise, all of our days, it is to you, that our hands are raised. Hallelujah. We give you praise, God. We give you glory for who you are. Come on, help us say it tonight. We give you praise, all of our days, it is to you, that our hands are raised. We lift our hands in worship. We lift our hands in praise, and we give you glory. We give you praise. All of our days, it is to you. Our hands are raised. When we think of all you've done, when we think of your goodness.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. We are here on Intellectual Radio, also on Facebook Live, on my personal page, Annette, known as Annette, and then we're also on YouTube. And if you have not joined us for the first hour and a half, you have missed a treat. Dr. Hill here of Mo Faith Nutritional Services is breaking everything down. Just kind of upsetting some people, but that's okay. It's for our good. We just listened to a wonderful spoken word by Elder Kevin McGee. He has a show here on Saturdays, 12 o'clock noon Central Standard Time, entitled Connections. And Dr. Hill and I were just talking about, yes, we know that the Holy Ghost gives him those spoken words, and he does it every week in relation to the topic at hand for the day. And that was good. If you didn't get a chance to hear it, hey, you're going to have to be kind and rewind and listen to it. I see here, Alyssa says, Brandy, I wish that was true in all cases. Gluten-free foods are literally 3 times the cost of regular foods. Okay, so Brandy must have said something earlier. And then she says, organic is typically double. It's sick that they do that to people that need that food. All part of money over everything else, especially the well-being of people. Yeah, I agree. Some people, what they say, it takes a lot to eat healthy, is what people say. But you go and treat your cars.
Yep.
You go and do everything else. I mean, I'm not knocking what Alyssa, I agree with what Alyssa says, but sometimes we just have to put forth the effort and ask the Lord to help us, with our finances or whatever, so that we can make sure that we can afford, the right foods to eat, because we only get one body.
Only one.
And we're responsible for this body. And I know God's going to hold us accountable. Yes.
I'm sorry. You said something and I don't want to lose that thought. So you will come back. Don't lose your thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When we say that we only get one body, we know that they're transplanting organs. But that even in itself, that is not the will of God. I'm here in this studio, so I don't have to worry about anybody wanting to, because somebody's, somebody, I get an argument about chemotherapy and then which is poison. And I'll still state that it is poison, and it's by design. And transplantation is by design, because remember that and I do understand that some people cannot live without getting another organ, but and I'm going to come back to that one statement right there. But remember that God said for every species to reproduce after its own kind or its own DNA. Then he gave every man, every family, its own DNA. Now, he didn't give the whole race of man one DNA. So, because if he had done that, then there would be no problems with us swapping organs and all of that kind of thing. But what happens is every family and almost everyone in that family, they have their own deviations of the same pattern of DNA. And so in order to give me someone else's kidney, even though it may be a quote unquote match, you have got to shut my immune system down for the rest of my life. We have an apostle, and I got tickled. He told me, he said, you know, I got this. He said, you know, I have, um, he had a heart transplant. And so he said, I'm going to need you to stop praying that the Lord boost the immune system because they have shut his immune system down. And if his immune system is boosted, then that immune system will do its job. And that is to seek out and destroy that which is not self. And that heart is not self because it does not have your DNA. And so then man has altered God's natural state because God said for the physical body, every DNA to reproduce after its own DNA. There is a reason for that. And that reason is so that humans are not having cats and dogs, elephants and pigs. If that restriction were not there, and we are going to see this, mark my words. So you all think this is sci-fi. Yes, it is. And it's in our future because we are crossing breeds, because we are taking aborted babies, putting their tissues in pigs, cows, other animals, and then putting in there the other vaccine ingredients and letting them incubate. And then we are placing that in humans from the time they come out of the birth canal. I was looking, the first thing the nurse said is, do you want them to have the hepatitis vaccine? And I bit my tongue, I bit my mind, I bit my everything that I could get in between my teeth, so that because it was not for me to say anything. That was a choice for parents to make. But I am thinking, okay, we've got tissue from aborted babies. We've got DNA from the chicken that they incubated the vaccine in. We have live viruses that are combined with all of that. And then we have all of the additives that gives it the ability to break into the cell membrane and mutate the DNA. And so all of this is in our genes. Our genes are our cells. They are going through mitosis. They're combining, they're splitting, they're recombining, and they're doing all of this. And we're passing all of this stuff down from generation to generation. Every vaccine that our child, I think they get something like 50 something vaccines now. And it was not supposed to be that way. I think when we first began, it was something like 8 vaccines or something. No, it migrated to something like that. Now our children get 50 something vaccines.
50 something.
Yeah, 50 something vaccines. And they all and most of them, chicken pox, mumps, all of these things have live viruses in them. And they have, what do they call? A hide, and they have the ability to hide because they can enter into the cell membrane, so they can hide from the DNA. And because they can hide from the DNA, then that makes you a carrier. So now I may not have the disease, but I can pass the disease on to somebody else because I carry the disease. And so all of this, that nobody is making these vaccines and making them in the manner that they are being made by accident. All of this is about money. All of this, in that very first convention, they devised a way to pass down disease perpetually, forever, so that they have this money coming in forever and ever. And the only thing, but we have the ability, God has given us the ability, food, real food. And so I'm glad Alyssa brought up that statement, because it's made a lot. But Aldi's sells organic food. You can go to Aldi's.
Yes, they do.
They certainly do. I got an organic watermelon that had seeds, big old black seeds in it, for $5.45.
You finally got your watermelon.
I got it. I've had 3 or 4 since I've been here.
That's an insider between the two of us.
Oh yeah. I had to stop myself.
Okay. Let me read this. Alyssa says here, and this is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She says she's going back to a comment from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She was looking for the prescription that she was given for the exact wording.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, buried in the paragraphs of side effects, word for word, she says, thoughts of suicide or killing someone else.
Oh my God.
You just said that earlier.
Alyssa, I need you to take a picture of that. I need you to take a picture of that with your phone, and I need you to Facebook me, text me, something. I need that.
That's
deep.
I
need that.
Now, she did say, side note, no, she did not take that medication, that
Good.
prescription that she was given.
Good.
But that's
Excellent.
interesting, and it's amazing that, I always think, like, with medication. I mean, I don't, thank God, I don't have to be on medication for anything. But in the past, if you had to go to the doctor for whatever and they give you something, I'm always looking, and I'm always praying over it,
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something, how it's, like she said, it's in there, buried in the paragraphs, is what she said.
It's buried.
So you really have to look at all this that they're giving you. And I know they don't like you, the regular.
You know what? They didn't like me at first, and I have been put out of the hospital. But I've learned how to. Dr. Hunt has taught me this. I've learned how to make the doctor my friend.
Okay.
And so I'll go with them and I'll say, I need to know, can I get the test? Or I'd like to know such and such and such, so that I can make your job easier, so that I make sure that I'm following you will help me to follow your directives. Now, I didn't say I will follow your directives. I said that you will help me to be able to follow your directives. And so doctors, I know how to make them love me. But then sometimes, and I have, and do still have, those that hate me, because sometimes I'll say no, and if the family gives me the authority to say no, I will say, no, you cannot do that. And this is why you cannot do that. And so this is what you need to know. When you get a test, you need to get every test that they give you, so that you can follow your progress. Because doctors sometimes they will tell you that you still need to get a procedure when you have progressed past that. And your body is actually healing and getting well, and they will still be telling you that you need to have surgery or you're going to die.
Money.
And I'm not saying that there are not some good doctors, but I'm sure saying they do have a protocol, and they only follow protocol. And so you need to have your test. You need to get a list of your medications. You should never leave a child or a family member in the hospital with them giving them medication and you don't know what it is. I told the mother, I need you to get the list of medications. It was, it might have been somewhere around 2 months, month and a half, 6 weeks before we could, because I persisted and insisted. And then I finally said, what are you hiding that you will not give her this list of medications? What is it that you don't want her to see? When we got the list of medications from the child, that time that baby had walked into the hospital, they had been giving her an experimental drug. Now, the drug had been used for adults for years because I deal a lot with cancer and I'm very familiar with this drug, but it had not been released for children under 18. And she was 5 and they had been giving it to her since the day she walked in. And when they gave the mother the list, I turned to the nurse. I said, how long was she on this medication? Well, she started taking it from the date that she came in. I said, but it's not for anyone under 18 years old. Why were you giving her this medication? Oh, we stopped giving it to her. We stopped giving it to her. But yeah, you just stopped giving it to her.
Now, see, that makes me angry. It makes me sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it alerts you. Just like you
Yes.
said, you have to be conscious and aware.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you said don't leave your child or
Mhm.
someone, your
Mhm.
loved one in the hospital like that and
Mhm.
not know what's happening and ask the questions. This is great stuff. Dr. Hill, we have to wrap up. I can't believe this. I can't believe this.
Okay, can I get
I want you to
2
give
minutes?
me yes. So I
Okay.
want you
Okay.
to Oh my
You know what?
goodness.
I am so sorry because
No.
I'm going to continue this tonight.
Okay.
This is something I'm going to continue tonight. And those of you that can't get there, I am so sorry, but this is going to be the most important part of this particular day.
Okay.
You're going to listen and pay attention for the words for um, telomeres, telomerase, for there's a word and they're starting to use it now. They're talking about taking it out of your body and doing some adjustments to it, mutating it actually, and putting it back in your body. And I cannot think of the name. I'll put it on the page. I'll put it on the page because if I called it, you would know.
So the first two you said
Telomere
telomeres
and telomerase. Yes.
I'm going to
Now,
put that in the live feed.
okay.
So let's see it.
Now, telomere is like, and I've said it before, telomeres are the caps on the ends of your genes. Now, remember, the genes carry your DNA. Now, they're on the ends of the genes. They protect the genes from raveling, just like those little plastic caps on the ends of your shoestrings, which you probably don't even remember what they look like. But those little caps, they prevent the fraying of the shoestrings. The shoestrings is your gene. The caps on the ends of the shoestrings is the telomere. Once as those telomeres shorten and the genes begin to fray like the shoestring, you begin to age, you begin to get sick, and the faster they fray, the faster you die, and the sicker you get and the faster you die. Now, the caps can be lengthened and they can be kept. And that is by the enzyme called telomerase. And there is food that causes the body to produce the telomerase that keeps the telomere lengthened, that protects and keeps the genes intact. And so we will talk more about that tonight. And I'm still trying to think of that word. Listen, you all, I have I'm being honored. If you look on my Facebook page, you'll see that there's a flyer there. I'm being honored for whatever they're honoring me for. If you have a business and you would like to take out an ad, please let me know and congratulate me. So you're not just taking out an ad, you're congratulating me and you're promoting your business at the same time. Because the kind of people that will be at this event are very wealthy, prestigious people, but the honorees will be everyday people like me.
Okay, Dr. Hill, you know what? I know you were trying to do that. Let me read this because we want to let you all know that they are honoring an awesome woman of God, Dr. Shirley Hill. She's kind of, playing it down a little bit, but you all make sure you go. I think I shared it on my page. I'm going to do it again. It's entitled here, We Dream in Color, Humanitarian Celebration, Saturday, July 14th, 2018, at the DuSable Museum. And that's at 740 East 56th Place, Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Shirley Hill is one of the honorees. And I just didn't want her to downplay it that much. But there's only so much you can do when you're talking about yourself. So I'm doing it. Okay. Dr. Shirley Hill. There's a red carpet meet and greet at 6:30 p.m. and the show time is at 8 p.m. Now, I again will share this. Brand, if you can please place this in the live feed. I'll share it again on my page. She is encouraging, asking each of you, if you can, please, what is the title?
Come or take an ad.
Take an ad and come. Look, I'm throwing that in there. I'm throwing it in there. This woman has unselfishly every month since October, November, come to Mind, Body, and Soul and she has given us our monthly health segments. And I know, because I hear it from you, that you have been blessed by what she has said. So let's support her. Let's encourage her. Take out an ad. You have various prices there. It doesn't have to be, an astronomical price, but it can be. Let's support her. She's giving of herself, and that's just here at Mind, Body, and Soul every month. But she has her own organization, own foundation, and she goes around and she helps individuals. She does it, individually. She helps people collectively in groups. So this is something that God has given her to do. And I believe that she's helping us. We're the better for it. So let's support her. Let's congratulate her. Let's get out there. Let's take out an ad. Let's do this. Saturday, July 14th, humanitarian celebration. Dr. Shirley Hill is one of the honorees. So I did it. I know you didn't want to do it for yourself, but I did it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to put that out. And I want to thank you, Dr. Hill, again for taking time out on today and giving us this information, disease by design. I don't know, maybe we'll see what we're going to do next month in terms of whether we'll continue on to do something else, or we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So you guys, I appreciate each of you for hopping on the Facebook Live, giving your input, talking to us, making your comments. Those of you that are on YouTube and then also listening to us on the station's website. Thank each and every one of you. We are unfortunately at the end of our session. And we are going to end on today. Earl, thanks for the time here at Intellectual Radio. We appreciate you over there. So again, make sure you go support Dr. Hill. And then also, as I stated earlier, we are trying to get your input for Mind, Body, and Soul. If you can listen to Mind, Body, and Soul at any other time of the week, of the day, any other days, please make sure you go to my page or Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette or Annette Working with Vibes. You can kind of see it all over Facebook. We're just trying to get your input. If you want to see an additional format, different day, different time, please let us know that, so that we can get our input in. And get this, we only have 2 more days for that poll. So make sure you get it in for us. So we're going to end now. Thank you all. Next week is the holiday, July 4th. Don't look for it next week. I need a little break, okay? So we're going to take a break next week, and then we'll return for the following Wednesday, which will be with Apostle Deion Hunt on the 11th. July 18th will be Dr. Joyce Graham and her book entitled Surviving Transition. And then at the end of the month, we're looking to see if we can get Dr. Hill back. That'll be the end of the month. So we'll talk about all that, but make sure you all stay tuned. And I think Brandy did put the information up for your humanitarian ward night. So that's great.
I'm sorry, I'm not, because I know we're over time.
We are. Real quick.
Okay. Brandy put the information up for the free event that WFG, that our team is having. We're having our guest speaker is the producer of the movie Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
And it's a free event. So we're looking for 1,000 people.
Great. Brandon, if you can put that up, she's a little assistant. We appreciate her. Love her so much. Okay, we're going to get out of here. I want you to get caught up with Annette.
Get caught in a net with Annette.